Welcome to CineBites, a cinematic culinary podcast where we experience the wonders and beauty of cinema with our eyes and explore the unique and glorious cuisine in those films with our taste buds. Today, we're assembling a cinematic feast with The Avengers. Get ready to join the ultimate superhero team-up and explore the epic connections between film and food in this action-packed adventure. So grab your popcorn, suit up, and let's dive into a world where movies and meals collide in the most heroic way possible. Feast your eyes.
All right, welcome back to the podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to, technically, this is our second Marvel movie that we're going into. Technically, and you would think that this would be the first one because this is kind of what tied everyone together for, that chapter of Marvel cinema. And it was really the peak hype of all the Marvel movies, I believe, because that was the moment everyone, I would say, because that was the moment everyone was waiting for, Iron Man
I
and
will
Captain
say,
America.
I think it was the first peak.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant.
Because it all builds up to, of course, Infinity War and Endgame,
right,
which is obviously the biggest. But
for sure.
But until Avengers, nobody knew the potential of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This movie is what started it all. I mean, Iron Man started it all, but this was the first collaboration movie across multiple movies, so it's just crazy.
And I think that's where I had that excitement leading up to it, because you had these standalone movies and then knowing that they were going to be all together. I think that's what I meant as the first initial hype.
Yeah.
Obviously, MCU has done an incredible job of just really drawing people to the hype and just keeping them on track or on board the entire ride, and
keeping people engaged to the movie theater experience.
Yes.
Because
my gosh.
Marvel movies have, I think, arguably have what kept theaters alive as long as they have.
I remember in the early years, lines going way out the door just to get in to see either the new Thor movie or the new Captain America movie, and people would dress up, and it was just a whole event.
Yeah.
And Avengers for sure. Now that you saw all of those characters assemble, it just really, really, got everyone excited for what was to come as well, which we now know is like you said, the end games and the Infinity Wars of the MCU.
Yeah.
So it's just really exciting. We figured it would be best fitting to have the Avengers as one of the first highlighted Marvel movies. I imagine we can do several others in future episodes, which we can definitely plan on. But this was definitely a good one to get it started with the Marvel universe, even though technically we started with Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
I think in an ideal world, I would have liked to do like the ultimate Marvel marathon and do every Marvel movie.
That would be crazy.
In like a series, but I also know that it could probably get stale pretty quickly. Halfway through. So we're maybe eventually, depending on how long we do this podcast, we might get to all the Marvel movies, but we're just going to kind of pick and choose ones that have significant food moments and have significant, or at least significant to us enough to want to choose it for an episode.
Absolutely.
Speaking of, wait, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to probably say what you were going to say.
I was going to say, speaking of significant food moments, we need to get to the food.
Absolutely. So I will before you unveil this, I will say that The Avengers was one of the films where there was a food moment that stood out the most to us, because it introduced a food, at least at the time when I was watching it, I wasn't completely aware of what it was. And so in the movie, there was a joke or kind of a dialogue with Iron Man of saying, when this is all done, we should go get some shawarma. I know there's a great shawarma place. So our food today is a shawarma. We have shawarma with fries. And of course, at the end credits, after the middle credits, because I believe the middle credits was when you first saw
Thanos, right?
Thanos, yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's when he turns and you see him
been a long time.
grin and everything. But at the very, very end, it's just a zero dialogue encounter with all of the Avengers in a wrecked store, but they were still able to get the Swarmer, even though they feel all beaten up and everything, they were still able to get that and enjoy it for the first time. So we have that. We have the Shawarma that we're going to share, and then some fries. Yep. So, yeah.
I've been already eating them.
Yeah.
And then soda to drink.
Yeah, soda to drink.
Just because they were drinking some sort of soda.
Yeah. Yeah, so really
that's what we did. We're just recreating that same meal.
Yeah.
While you enjoy that, I want to give some fun facts about this scene specifically. And some people...
Do you have a preference on that side?
I don't care. Whatever. That side seems like it has a lot of tomato, and you know how I feel.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it.
Anyway, for this scene in particular, fun fact, the shawarma scene was shot after the initial Avengers premiere. And so this scene was I don't know I don't know whose idea it was, maybe Kevin Feige, maybe the director Joss Whedon, but either way, after the premiere, like, the Hollywood premiere, before the movie ever comes out, there's a premiere. Before the movie comes out to everyone else, there's a premiere.
Yeah.
And so someone had the idea to do this end credit scene. And I guess maybe, I don't know for certain, but maybe it's possible that mid-credit scene was initially supposed to be at the end. Because I'm not sure. Maybe they just didn't have an end credit scene filled into that spot. Or maybe they just never thought of something that would be good to end it with.
Which is unusual because they always have something.
Yeah. But anyway, so because it was filmed so late, because I'm sure that the initial photography for this film had to have been a year prior. Mm-hmm. It usually is, sometimes even a couple of years prior to when the premiere of the movie is. And because of that, Chris Evans, who you all know, Captain America, he's cleanly shaven in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And during the time of this premiere and when they were going to be filming the shawarma scene, he had a full beard because he was filming Snowpiercer, which is another movie I want to do on the podcast, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it. Yeah, I'd love to do it.
Snowpiercer is a great movie. It's directed by Bong Joon-ho. So anyway, that's beside the point. Chris Evans has a beard for that movie.
Yeah.
And so because he had a beard, they had to put a prosthetic chin on him to film this scene, the shawarma scene. And they tried their best, but it still just makes his face look super weird.
Yeah.
And so in the scene, he's kind of facing away from the camera and has his hand on his face to where you can really only see from the bridge of his nose up.
Yeah.
And his hand is covering it. And he doesn't move. He doesn't say anything. And he couldn't eat anything either because if he were to open his mouth too wide, it would mess up the chin.
Yeah.
And so
that's so funny.
It's just a little fun fact. If you go back and watch it, you can clearly tell that Chris Evans is trying his best not to move.
Yeah.
But obviously it worked. But now this many years later that has come out in interviews about him talking about how he had a beard and whatnot.
Yeah,
for that scene, which I think is kind of funny.
At least they didn't go the route where what was it in the DC?
Man, did you already slam your whole half?
I did. I'm probably going to give a decent rating. I want to fry it. I'm probably going to get a decent rating for this. Excuse me. So it's similar to what the DC universe did when and I might have to look up more about this, but didn't they, for Henry Cavill's character, or for Superman, didn't they have to CGI his mustache out of most of the movie? That's crazy.
There's some famous clips in particular about him with his top lip just looking so weird.
Right. That's
because they didn't do it with prosthetics or anything. I think it was when he was filming Mission Impossible, I think. Because he's like the main antagonist in Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah.
The one where he
like punches the air.
They say he cocks his arms like a gun.
It was either that or what's the A Man Called Uncle, or is that what it's called?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it's called? I can't remember because I know it's a recreation of an older movie. I think A Man Called Uncle, something maybe like that. But I couldn't remember which one it was that they had to do that for. But it was just funny that you pour so much money into just essentially taking someone's mustache,
and it looks bad.
Yeah, it does look bad.
It looked bad.
It's even more of a slap of the face to the DC universe because Henry Cavill is just like, I'm not doing Superman anymore, like more recently. So that's, I don't know. DC, I don't know if it was because Marvel was doing so well and they were so successful in their movies that DC was more so trying to compete with them. But I mean, DC had some decent movies, but they were really, really struggling trying to compete with Marvel because Marvel was just putting, great movie after great movie.
And the crazy thing is I don't think it's a controversial opinion to say that Marvel is kind of declining in the last couple years, unfortunately. But even still, they're putting out better content than DC.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is just crazy to me. It's just like, other than like the most recent Batman with Robert Pattinson, I actually really liked.
Yeah.
It was a really good Batman movie. Batman movies across the board have been really good, but anything where Ben Affleck has been Batman has not been good.
Yeah, I think there's an exception to a couple of them, but it definitely has. It was definitely a different take on it, and I think if you're not used to kind of the aging Batman storyline, it is different. I thought Ben Affleck was fine in it though. I don't know.
He's fine as a Batman, but the movies he's been in,
right?
Justice League and Batman v Superman, which is notoriously one of the worst superhero movies.
Right.
And then also he was in The Flash more recently.
Oh, what? Oh, that's right. I didn't even see The Flash.
I think he was briefly in it.
Oh, okay.
And then
because I know Michael Keaton was in it.
Michael Keaton was in that as well. I never saw The Flash, but I hear it was very bad.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah.
I really don't feel like seeing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and I have my own personal reasons why I don't want to see The Flash, but I mean, nothing in me had any urge to want to see it,
No, because I think a big draw was Michael Keaton.
Yeah, for sure.
But I've never seen the Michael Keaton Batman movie.
They're really good. Or it's really good. I think Michael Keaton is amazing. I think he's such an underrated actor. If you
he is really good, but I just haven't seen his Batman movie.
Yeah. If you if you think about it, some of the more recent movies he's been in have won major awards. Like
there's Birdman.
Birdman won, I think, Best Picture that year.
Yep, that Birdman was huge.
And then
I haven't seen it, but I really want to.
But the year after, what was it that won that he was in? Shoot, it's.
Did The Founder win anything?
No, I thought it was going to. I thought he was going to do a three-peat, but it was the one that came out the year before that, and it was essentially where they were diving into the kind of this what was going on in the Catholic Church, and kind of the.
I don't know. I'm looking at his stuff and I don't see it.
Yeah, I think it was the year immediately after Birdman. Shoot, what is it called? I really like the movie. I just can't. Spotlight. I think it's called Spotlight.
I literally don't see it in his thing.
Look up Spotlight, see if that's on there. But yeah, that's
so it would be 2015 because Birdman is 2014 and then The Founder is 2016.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's either
Michael Keaton 2015 movie.
Yeah, it's Spotlight. Yeah. Okay. And it's got Mark Ruffalo, and he does a phenomenal job too. Which
I have not ever seen that.
It's really, really
good.
I
haven't even heard of it.
It's really, really good. But it won Oscar for best picture. Anyways,
it did?
Yeah.
How have I not heard of it?
I don't know. Do you not watch the Oscars?
Actually, I really don't that often.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Were you busy in 2015? That could have been.
I was 15 in 2015,
yeah.
So I don't think I was keeping up with the Oscars at that point.
Yeah, so that's fair. So all that roundabout with Mark Ruffalo in Spotlight brings us back to the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
there you go.
There's a reason why we got off track.
Sure.
So what what we should do first is rate the food, and then we can get into the synopsis of this movie. Do you want to go first?
For the food?
Yeah, for the food rating.
Oh, man.
I think I have a rating.
If you're listening right now, you're hearing all of our mouth noises. So you probably know that we absolutely destroyed this plate.
Yeah. I'll give it a rating first.
Okay.
8.2.
I was going to give it an 8.9.
8, yeah. I should probably have gone higher because this shawarma is very similar to a, I know you call it something different, to a gyro.
A gyro? A gyro?
There's comment and let us know how you pronounce it. I've always called it gyro, but I've definitely heard other people call it something different.
I'm American. I call it a gyro.
But it's very similar to that. And with that being said, usually if I go to a restaurant that serves, gyros or shawarmas or anything, that's usually the top thing that I get.
So
anyways.
Good.
So it rightfully so deserves, an 8 or higher. And then I have the fries. Fries you can't go wrong with, and then you have soda. It's a meal that I would get, every single time. I probably should have rated it higher. 8.2 is still really, really high, but depending on the day, it could be way higher. But I think the lowest it could possibly be for me is an 8.2.
Oh, yeah.
So oh my gosh, it's so good. So go out there, get yourself a shawarma, enjoy the Avengers, and relive that whole movie experience.
And we'll be right here for you to come back and listen while you eat it.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was released on May 4th back in the day. So
May the 4th
Star
be
Wars,
with you.
yeah, Star Wars, National Star Wars Day.
I would have thought that the Avengers would be released around Christmas time.
Mm-hmm. Wait, why so?
A lot of major Marvel movie events were released. No, I guess that's Star Wars. Star Wars is always released around Christmas time. Mm-hmm. But there's also been a number of big Marvel movies released in Christmas time.
Yeah.
Because during the holiday season, people are more off work and they're doing, family outings and things.
Yeah.
And people are more likely to go to the movie theater in the month of December.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I don't know.
So I can get, there's just so much to MCU. And there's so much leading up to this moment where they're like, we have all these great superheroes that need to save the world from this alien invasion. And that's essentially what this movie is in a nutshell. You get the buildup of already being introduced to Iron Man, to Thor, who in Thor you also are introduced to Hawkeye, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have Then you have Captain America, which you see his backstory. All leading up to where they all meet for this moment to defeat
Black
Thor's
Widow's
brother.
in Iron Man 2.
Yes.
For the first time.
Yeah.
And that came out before. Iron Man 1 and 2 came out before the Avengers, so that was interesting.
Right. So it all led up to this one moment, and you have the Avengers assemble so that they can defeat Loki and defeat the aliens that are invading New York City. That's it in a nutshell, with the exception of all the other things that you have to keep track of for the rest of the timeline, like the discovery of the Tesseract, for Loki stealing it.
At the beginning is the Tesseract, and you get barely a little bit of information about it.
Yeah, and what its purpose is, because at the time you probably didn't piece together that it had a huge significance. Later with the Thanos and the Infinity Stones. So it was definitely leading you up to it, but at the time it was very it was not really understood why it was so significant at the time. So that's it in a nutshell. I mean, the Avengers, like I said, if it weren't for this movie,
lot of the what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say if it was.
I keep interrupting you.
No, it's okay. If it wasn't for this movie, you wouldn't have those relationships built or connections made with the other superheroes to really lay the foundation for future movies and future story timelines. So
I think a good majority of the beginning of this movie is not even them fighting Loki; it's them trying to figure out how to work as a team. Because there's the whole part of them in the middle of the movie with them on the big airship. I forget what it's called. I know it has a name, but the big airship, the SHIELD base that's in the air, and it was a boat, and then it went in the air.
Right.
And so while they're in there, the whole time is them trying to figure out how to work as a team, because Hulk is AWOL. Mm-hmm. Hawkeye was mind controlled by Loki, and then they eventually got him back at one point, and they tried to unmind control him. So that was a whole other thing they had to go through.
There was a lot of fighting within the team.
Yeah.
You know, and when Thor, they had Iron Man and Captain America kind of team up on him in the woods. So there was a lot of, I mean, I think the biggest enemy throughout the entire movie of the Avengers was themselves.
Yeah.
Because they were just fighting each other the whole time.
And it wasn't until Agent Coulson died.
Yeah, R.I.P.
R.I.P. that he died, and then that's what brought the Avengers together.
Mm.
If it weren't for Agent Coulson, the Avengers wouldn't have really been a thing.
Wasn't it? And spoiler to anyone who has seen or hasn't seen any of the other MCU movies after this, isn't he brought back or something?
He's not brought back for any of the MCU movies.
But for the show.
But for the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he was somehow resurrected.
Oh, okay.
I think it was mainly just because he was just like a popular character and a good actor, and they needed somebody to be the lead for the show.
Yeah.
So they figured out some way to resurrect him.
Of course.
I don't know how. I have not watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's not really a spoiler for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because
that's been out for a minute.
It's been out for, it was, I think it was the first, one of the first like canon MCU TV shows.
Yeah, I agree.
Before the Disney Plus MCU shows. I'm pretty sure it was one of, if not the first MCU TV show. It's been out for a while.
Because they had a handful of Marvel TV shows, but they weren't part of the MCU.
Yeah, because there's kind of the Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
So Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones. Eventually, now because of the introduction of Daredevil in more recent MCU stuff, it is, and because of the multiverse, it has been, canonized, and it is part of the MCU now. But when those shows initially came out, it wasn't connected in any way. So it kind of was MCU, but kind of not, and eventually it's more canonized in it. But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was like the first one from the beginning. Like, this is a Marvel Cinematic Universe TV show. It has Agent Coulson. We resurrected him. He's back.
Yeah. I thought I've heard somewhere where they're also not continuing with the idea of Daredevil. I thought I heard that, and we can look up more news, but I thought they were just kind of scratching that.
Well, they have a TV show planned for him on Disney Plus, like a new one, like
really?
a reboot.
Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding.
And I doubt that they would. I mean, maybe, but I doubt that they would not do that, because the original Daredevil TV show is actually really good. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've heard good things.
It's a really good show.
And then he shows up in Spider-Man.
He shows up in Spider-Man briefly, and then he has a decently significant role in She-Hulk as well.
I didn't see She-Hulk.
Yeah,
I heard too many bad
She-Hulk
things about
it. It's not horrible. I mean, I thought it was okay. The best parts was when Daredevil was in it anyway.
Oh, okay.
But because he's an attorney and he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
He shows up because She-Hulk is a lawyer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But he's supposed to show up again later at some point.
Okay.
And I think he's supposed to be getting his own MCU movie as well.
Okay.
I think. Not movie, TV show. So I'm hoping that happens because I really like Daredevil, but there's also part of me that hopes that it doesn't happen because I don't want them to ruin it, because the original show is just so good.
Yeah.
That them rebooting the show, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
And that's what's scary is and we've even mentioned this on the show before, is that because they have more time and quantity, they're stepping away from the quality.
Yep.
So if
quantity over quality.
Yeah, and so if they do dive back into a Daredevil series, is it going to live up to what the original ones are? I don't.
But have you not seen the original Daredevil?
I haven't. I want to.
I think you should. It's really good. I feel like it maybe, just like most TV shows, gets a little bit near the last couple seasons.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a really good series. I also really liked Luke Cage as well, and that's in that same universe.
I'm used to the OG Daredevil.
Oh, Ben Affleck.
And Jennifer Garner as that. Fun fact, Jennifer Garner, I think it was released, there's news that she's going to do her Elektra role in the new, she's going to have an appearance in the new Deadpool movie. And I know they're already going to bring up some
It's
old
all
ones.
getting all kind of jumbled because Deadpool, the new one, Deadpool 3 that's coming out, I guess it is supposed to be part of the MCU now.
It's
because
so
the first,
weird. Yeah,
the first two have not been.
No, not at all.
And then now there's the introduction of X-Men. Disney rather has gotten the movie rights to X-Men now.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be very soon introduced to the MCU.
Yeah.
And so Wolverine is supposed to be in Deadpool 3. That is not a secret because Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have done promos for the movie together.
Yeah.
So he's definitely in it. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, which I'm very excited to see again.
Oh yeah, and I think
love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
I think he's gonna sport the more classic Wolverine look too, with the yellow uniform. So
but it's all just kind of confusing with all this multiversal stuff and everything. Now everything Marvel related can be tied back into the MCU.
Yeah,
which maybe 10 years ago I would have been excited about, but now I just feel like it's becoming dull.
Yeah,
but
you know what? Kind of might be a fun game. On this, you want to do a quick random game?
Okay, let's hear it.
There's been numerous actors and actresses who have been in superhero specific movies, so Marvel movies, DC,
and have played multiple characters that are okay.
Yes. So how many of those actors can you name, and can you name the superheroes that they were playing?
So I have to name multiple actors who have played multiple just superheroes characters in general.
So like one example, you could do one actor who has played, a superhero in a DC universe and then a superhero in an MCU universe.
Okay. Well, we'll start with one we already talked about, Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Who's done Daredevil.
Yep.
And who's also done Batman.
Yep. So I'm going to do Ben Affleck.
We've got Chris Evans, who has done Captain America and the Human Torch.
Yep, that's a good one.
I
was going to say I need to look his name up, but he's the guy who played Quicksilver in...
Oh, yes,
What is his name?
Wait, you mean Quicksilver in the X-Men?
Yes.
Yes, he played Quicksilver in both MCU and X-Men universe.
Right.
And then
wait, no, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
The guy in the X-Men universe was the guy who was in American Horror Story. The guy who played in the MCU was the guy who is playing...
But you've not probably seen WandaVision, have you?
No, I have.
Yeah, the guy who is Wanda's brother is Quicksilver, is the same actor as the one from the X-Men, not the one that was previous. But it's all kind of confusing.
You'll have to show me what you're talking about, because the guy from the American Horror Story is the one who played in the X-Men series.
So let's see. Age of Ultron is where they first introduced Quicksilver, which is Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Okay.
That's the guy. He has I think he also played another superhero in something. Or
he played a villain.
He's going to be playing Kraven the Hunter in an upcoming Sony verse thing.
Yeah. So I guess that doesn't count as a superhero. That's more of a villain. But he did play, and this is just the title, so don't get at me for this. But he also played in the Kick-Ass movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's technically a superhero, kind of.
Right. Yeah. That just gets beat up a lot.
Let's see.
So
right here. So Pietro, this one, what's his name?
But wasn't it Evan Peters though?
Yes, I was trying to remember his name. Evan Peters. He played Quicksilver in both X-Men and in the MCU as in WandaVision.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So it's Evan Peters who you're talking about.
Yes, the other one he did not.
Oh, okay.
So
That makes sense.
He played Quicksilver in the X-Men movie.
Yeah.
And was very actually hugely popular, kind of a fan favorite character in that movie because the scenes he was in were really cool.
Yeah.
And then later in WandaVision, he was kind of a multiversal variant that was invading in WandaVision's weird universe.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so
okay.
He was technically not Quicksilver, but he also dresses up as Quicksilver in it, like for Halloween.
Oh, okay.
So he kind of...
So it's more of like a kind of honor to his character.
Yeah.
I see.
But I think eventually he's going to get introduced back when they do a regular X-Men movie in the MCU.
Okay.
I would assume that he would be coming back.
Cool.
Because his name in WandaVision was Ralph Boner. Not joking. Literally, it was just... And so, because he was just supposed to be some citizen that was there, but he's supposed to be some variant version of Quicksilver.
Jeez.
Anyway, I feel like we're just going off topic. We've not talked about Avengers at all.
No, we haven't. But we still got to play this game.
Oh.
So those were 3 actors. Ryan Reynolds is another one.
Yes, Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, and he played Deadpool in the other X-Men movie, and then he also,
Green Lantern.
That's right, Green Lantern. I never saw Green Lantern.
Yeah, I unfortunately saw it. It wasn't the greatest.
I feel like there's another one. There's gotta be.
I'm sure. Wait. Isn't Well, no. I was gonna say, isn't Jason Momoa projected to play someone else that's a superhero? Maybe, but maybe not.
I don't know.
And then The Rock. I mean, he played Black Adam, but that was kind of a sad story of how that just kind of flopped.
Yeah, everyone was so hyped for that.
Yeah.
But it just flopped. I never saw it.
You know what didn't flop? The Avengers.
Yeah,
so we're gonna go
hop
back
to it.
Okay, so with the Avengers, anything you'd like to share with the Avengers? I know we didn't really talk in depth about specifics about it.
I feel like the movie speaks for itself. I will say this movie is kind of nostalgic for me. I was 12 when this came out.
Yeah.
I did see this movie in theaters. So I've been on the Marvel train since the beginning. I did not see Iron Man 1 in theaters because when it came out, I was 8 years old. After it came out on DVD, I actually vividly remember the first time I watched Iron Man. We did a family movie night at home because we bought or rented the DVD or whatever and watched Iron Man.
Oh, fun.
And then from that point on, I was hooked to the Marvel movies, and I'm pretty sure I saw every single one in theaters after that. Except for I didn't see Incredible Hulk because that came out the same year as Iron Man as well.
Well, was it the Incredible Hulk with Mark Ruffalo or...
Mark Ruffalo was not in...
Oh, that's right. He didn't do a standalone. It was
with...
Edward Norton.
Yeah, Ed Norton.
That's right.
Which is part of the MCU. There's the other one that was before that with... I forget the name of it.
Oh, yeah, that one was way before the MCU.
Yeah, it was before the MCU.
It was kind of around the time Daredevil, the original, with Ben Affleck.
Yeah, kind of.
It was just Hulk, and the guy who's in it, he was also in Black Hawk Down. What is the guy's name? I can't remember. But, yeah, that came out in 2003. Eric Bana is the guy's name.
Yeah. But anyway... From that point forward, I was in on the Avengers train, or not the Avengers train, the MCU train, and have been ever, and still am. I am just disappointed in the last couple of years of content, and I'm hoping it can get turned around.
Yeah.
But hopefully. Even still, there's good stuff coming out. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is one of them. Spider-Man: No Way Home was not that long ago, and that's a really good. A lot of their TV shows are...
Have you seen the new Loki season?
The new Loki season, I actually really, really like.
Okay.
So,
because I've heard good things.
Yeah, if you've seen the first Loki season and you liked it, you will like the second one.
Yeah.
I think they did it justice and did it very, very well. You just can't think about it too much.
Right.
There's so much time travel that happens now and multiversal jumping and things, especially in the second season of Loki, that I feel like some people could get frustrated with, like, continuity errors when it comes to time travel and stuff, but there's so many different opinions about how time travel could work because it doesn't actually exist.
Right. And that's, so I imagine, easier for the writers because they can kind of make something up, to kind of make sense.
As long, to me, it mostly made sense, and you just can't think about it too much, and I think it actually turned out really good. It had a great ending.
Yeah,
and everything. I actually just watched that a couple weeks ago, like
the Avengers.
Loki.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, but the Avengers, I remember seeing it in theaters, and it was like, it was a huge movie experience. I think for everybody, but especially for me as a 12-year-old going into the theater. Yeah, it was like mind blowing. I will say, and maybe I'll get hate for this. It didn't age that well. I haven't preparing for this episode. I did not get a chance to rewatch, but I believe it was last year I did a whole rewatch of every MCU movie in chronological order.
Nice.
Or was it chronological? No, I think I did it in release order.
Okay.
But either way,
the first one would have been Captain America, I think. Did you watch that one first?
I watched them in release order.
Okay, release order.
I think actually technically the first one would be Captain Marvel is the first one because that...
Oh, really? Well, she came out in the 90s.
Oh,
and then Captain America would have been like way back in the day.
Well, but then I think... Yeah, and I think there's another one that happens before Captain America, though, too.
Oh, okay.
Maybe one of like the space movies. I don't know.
Okay. I can find out.
I guess... I feel like there's one that comes before it.
Let's see.
But anyway... I feel like Avengers didn't age that great.
Right.
Because obviously this is the first ensemble superhero movie, and it was huge, and I still think this movie is good. But I do think that over time, Marvel was able to make a ton of improvements on just the way it is. I will say, in general, this movie is kind of... I don't know, bright and colorful, and not in that good of a way. Right. It kind of seems more childish. Mm-hmm. So for the most part, though, the MCU has been pretty grounded and pretty gritty, and so I think, after this, they kind of get into that a little bit more. This movie seems a little bit more childish in a way.
Yeah.
In the way that it approaches itself. It's a little, I don't know, but it still has some great, powerful moments, and it's still really, really fun. So yeah, I still really like this movie. I just don't think it holds up as well as I would have liked it to over 10 years later.
Yeah, and that's fair, and maybe that was smart on their part to kind of keep it at like a baseline and then just get better from there, which it seems like they did.
They definitely did. I think there's just, there's some certain things that they needed to iron out about their characters that, the characters in particular that were just not settled yet. And I think that's also just partially because we're in the middle/beginning of their character development.
Yeah.
Iron Man is kind of still just this arrogant jerk. Mm-hmm. And, Hawkeye and Black Widow don't really have any contribution. It's just like, and Captain America just kind of has a one-beat personality of like, he's just the good old boy type thing. And so obviously this is the beginning of their character development. So I think it's great, even though Age of Ultron is like said to be not that good of an Avengers movie, the worst Avengers movie, you can see their character development building from there to the next Avengers to the last two Avengers, and it just improves from there.
Yeah,
which I think is good. So I think if the other Avengers movies and the other movies that came after the Avengers didn't exist, that this would hold up better. But after watching all the other ones and knowing, what those other ones look like, this one kind of feels a little bit one note to me.
That's fair. That makes sense. And I mean, with the exception of the other, little hints that they put in there to set up what's to come, like we talked about a little bit earlier, there's not a whole lot of plot depth to this movie. It's essentially the good guys meet to save the world, which is like typical comic book, but it's not. There's not like a whole lot of meat to it, know, because like even the description here, it just says Earth's mightiest heroes come together and learn to fight as a team if they are going to stop the mischievous Loki and his alien army from enslaving humanity. I think
the biggest sort of plot and character development you can gather from that synopsis is them having to learn to work together as a team. I think that's where you get a lot of the actual meat and the where you get the interactions about Iron Man's mad at Captain America for this and that and the other, and Bruce Banner and Iron Man are both very smart like scientists, but then they're butting heads for different things, and everyone's mad at Bruce Banner because the Hulk is going nuts, and then Hawkeye is mind controlled, and then has a really weird relationship with Black Widow. Like they're kind of in love, but then I guess they're just friends. I don't know. It's kind of weird. They talk about that. Their relationship is messed with a few more times in different things. Yeah. And they're just always flirting with, are they dating? Are they not dating? Or whatever.
But then it turns out he's had a wife and
he has a wife and family. Kids. And then, but then she also has a thing for Bruce Banner and the Hulk.
Yeah.
So
speaking of Bruce Banner and the Hulk, I think he delivers one of the dumbest lines to me, especially when I saw it first in theaters, is when he has to like turn into the Hulk and help out, and Captain America's like, go ahead and find that rage or whatever, and he's like, or get angry, and he's like, the thing is, Captain, I'm always angry.
You don't like that line?
It's because if that is the case where he's always angry, implying that he had the ability to
control it,
why didn't he control it at the beginning of the movie? Like throughout the movie, there was times.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, there's times throughout the movie where he's like can't control it, and then all of a sudden he has this good line where he's like, "Just kidding, I can control it." Okay, then why were you trying to beat up Black Widow and supposedly your team?
That's a good point. I feel like that line is so good though; it's so iconic. I love that moment.
I would have liked it more if it made more sense.
Yeah, I understand. I know what you're saying now. I guess I've never really thought of that before, but that is kind of a weird. Like, you should have been controlling it earlier.
Right, yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, few buildings could have been, or not few buildings, but like a few fight scenes could have been shortened. But then we were given the fight scene, so I guess I can't complain a whole lot. But, all right, well, we can, anything else you want to say about this before we get into the ratings?
I don't think so. I think overall, good movie.
Good movie.
Great, good movie. Great start to the MCU. So yeah, I mean, if you've not seen this movie, then you need to go back and see it. It's the foundation for all of the other movies coming after it. And
it's been out for 11 years too. So if you haven't seen it in the past 11 years, might as well give it a room.
Do you hate fun? Are you anti-fun?
Are you anti? We still got to get those shirts. We got to get those shirts made for our munchies.
But anyway, I think that this movie is one of the best. Well, one of the most. This actually not one of the most. The most impactful MCU movie. I think it's not one of the best, but I think it's the most impactful because it was the first ensemble.
I could see that.
And if this movie did not do well, then we wouldn't have anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, and if you take that back to like the Batman versus Superman movies or even the Justice League, we see the aftermath of what happened.
What happens when because if Justice League did well, DC would be in a completely different spot.
Right.
They would still be carrying on with that DC universe and trying their best that they can, but now they're scrapping all of it. They don't care. Aquaman is coming out this month, and I believe it's going to be the last DC EU movie. And so from this point forward, it almost
doesn't even seem necessary at this point.
No, and that's been the problem. The last few movies is they've announced saying, "Hey, we're moving on. We're basically going to reboot everything. James Gunn is taking over, and he's going to be doing all the DC stuff."
Yeah,
which I think is a solid move. But they announced that and told everybody, and so they're like, okay, so the Flash movie doesn't matter, Aquaman movie doesn't matter. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have an extended universe for a movie to be good and to be significant and good enough for you to watch. But if you're like basing this whole thing around trying to copy Marvel in their universe, and then you basically tell them that this universe is going to be ending in a couple movies, but we're still going to put out a couple more just because, then people aren't going to be as interested.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to like it as much, and people are just going to be like, what's the point?
Right.
So that's we see the aftermath of that for the DC. Now, if Avengers didn't turn out as it did, then DC or Marvel would be in the same spot.
Right.
But obviously they are not, and they're still, despite the quality going down and the quantity going up in MCU stuff, they're still holding out pretty strong and still wildly popular franchise.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can turn the ship a different direction so it can keep going.
Hopefully. We'll find out.
I'm going to give this
So I think so to talk a little bit about my rating before I give it a reveal. I think there is some bias with me as well, because I have seen, I would say, 90% of these movies in theaters, and I grew up with it as well. So there is that part of me that I'm trying to take away. However, every single character in the MCU has been casted so perfectly.
Oh, that's a great point.
I can't imagine an Iron Man who wasn't played by Robert Downey Jr. Or a Captain America they are the embodiment of those characters. Yep. And so I think that weighs a lot into it, and really the idea, or one of the biggest parts and enjoyment of cinema is making you believe it.
Yeah.
And so if you are convinced and believe that those characters are the characters that they are, then that just makes the whole experience that much better.
Yeah.
So if that is the goal, and that is, what I would want from a movie, then I would say that the Avengers and really the rest of the MCU, with the main three, which is Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, that this hit it on the nose. Obviously you can take it apart with could the plot have been a little thicker, could the acting been a little bit better. I mean who's to say, but I mean, with bias aside and with all that taken into consideration, my rating is at an 8.2.
Okay.
So it's the same as my rating for the food. So I really enjoy the food, and I really enjoy this.
I think an unsung hero in terms of the casting is Loki.
Yes.
He's Tom Hiddleston as Loki he was so beloved and hated all at the same time in this first Avengers movie that he has become a staple. Now gotten his own TV show, arguably the one of, if not the only good MCU TV show they've put on Disney Plus, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know I don't even know what is a second. Like, nothing comes
maybe
close.
WandaVision was decent,
but it's not a close.
But
second.
it's not great. And even
Loki,
the second season I thought was really good.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm giving it an 8.4, so we're pretty close.
Very close, yeah.
So
we're
it's
about
still
on
a
the
high
same page.
movie. It's not up there in my top 5 Marvel movies, I don't think. But in terms of significance, I think it's number 1.
Yeah.
Just because of the significance of this movie being what it is. And I still love this movie. It's got a huge nostalgic factor to it. It's going to be a movie that I'm going to be very excited to watch with my kids one day, like to be able to start them off watching the Avengers, you know what I mean?
That'd be fun.
It's a solid it's a solid family movie, while being also enjoyable for adults.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, I really love this movie. Not the greatest Marvel movie of all time, especially now. If you maybe asked me in 2012, I would have said Avengers is the greatest movie of all time.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, first of all, I was 12, but
yeah.
but also just the movie theater experience and the fact that this kind of thing had never been done before. It was mind blowing. Some people might disagree with this comparison that I'm about to make, but I wasn't alive in 1977 when it happened. But I would say that the Avengers movie has the same cultural significant impact as the original Star Wars movie did when it came out in 1977.
Yeah.
And I think because Star Wars when it came out, it was mind blowing to everyone in theaters. First of all, just because they had never seen visual effects to that sort of extent.
For sure.
In 2012, visual effects were a thing, but nothing to this extent. First of all, they had the best of the best on it, but a sort of assembled universe of superheroes had never been done before.
Right.
And I think the fact that and now the Avengers are it's a household name.
Oh, for sure.
But when this came out, I mean, relatively, Iron Man and Thor were not very big superheroes, not very popular. The most popular superheroes in the Marvel whatever were Spider-Man, Hulk, Wolverine. Those are like big names.
Right.
Obviously, they had Hulk in this. And maybe Captain America slightly, but like Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor were not very big names. And the fact that they started with Iron Man first of all, and then went to this, and they turned these kind of just like almost known, not completely no name, but the majority of the public did not know about the Avengers.
Right.
And so to make it such a big thing is absolutely insane.
Oh, yeah.
Huge cultural impact, still has cultural impact today.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and kind of piggybacking off of that is that they did also introduce later on more characters that were in the comic book world. And if you grew up with comic books, and you would have been familiar with these, but others weren't. You know, like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy. I had never even heard of them.
Right.
And I had read, and I had kept up with Marvel comics and things. That was another thing, the fact that they were introduced.
Yeah, a few others. Ant-Man, you heard of Ant-Man but didn't know the details of Ant-Man and so on and so forth. Even Black Panther, so
Ant-Man was one that I knew of Ant-Man, and Ant-Man still is one of my favorite superheroes. So when I heard they announced an Ant-Man movie, I was like, this is the best. And then it was Paul Rudd, and I'm like, this is the best.
Oh, yeah. He played such a good Ant-Man. It was so fun.
But we won't mention Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Yeah, I haven't even seen that, so it's okay if we don't talk about it.
You know what? I'll say it gets too much hate, but it still wasn't very good. I think it gets too much hate for what it deserves, but I think the standards just got so high with Marvel that even if they make an okay movie, that everyone says, this is the worst movie of all time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Anyway.
All right, you ready for some Cinesnacks?
I don't know.
Okay. So I'm doing the Cinesnacks. I'm going to be giving, or you're going to be asking questions. I'm going to say yes or no. Yes. And I'm also going to give clues. Oh, I didn't think about the clues. Let's see.
Can we stop for a nap break?
So I think, let me see if I can look up some clues.
Oh, yeah. You need 3 one-word. Well, did we say one word?
I think we've been doing one word or like kind of two.
One word.
Yeah. So, let's. I think I'm good. If you're good, so 2 minutes on the clock.
Wait, did you already write it down?
Yeah, I did.
Ooh.
Yeah, I did it a while ago while you were talking.
Yeah, while I was jabbering. Yeah, I think. Let me get a 2-minute timer so I can.
I'm ready whenever you are.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Here we go.
Wait, you already hit go?
Yeah, hit
go. Wait.
Okay, we'll stop. Okay, we'll
You
reset.
said ready, go. Give me a countdown.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right. Did this movie come out in the 2000s?
No.
2010s?
Yeah, 2010s.
2010s. Okay. Is it an animated movie?
It is not.
So, not an animated movie. Is it of a pretty popular director?
No, not popular in like the top 20 even.
Okay. Is it a comedy?
No.
Hint.
Sci-fi.
Okay, so a sci-fi movie. Does it have anything to do with Star Wars?
No.
Star Trek? Anything? Star Trek?
Nope.
Are there aliens in the movie?
No.
Okay. Is it a male lead?
Yes-ish.
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 So are there like kind of multiple leads?
Yes. I would say there's a couple leads.
Okay. Hint.
Technology.
Oh, okay. Does this movie have to do with language?
No.
Okay, dang it. Okay. Hint.
Wealthy?
Wealthy? Okay, so I'm trying to think of another genre I could ask you. Is there music involved in the movie at all?
Not like a Disney movie or a musical or anything like that. It's not a significant part of it.
Is it is there a lot of action, or is it more action?
I would say more thriller. That's another clue.
Thriller.
Yeah, you have 20 seconds.
I know.
Wait, yeah, 20 seconds.
Yeah. Shoot. Thriller. Is there like love interest between a couple of the leads?
Yeah, you could say that.
Is it? I don't know. I got 3 seconds. I can't think of anything.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see.
Oh. Okay.
And 30 seconds on the clock to put.
So 2010s thriller, sci-fi, with kind of multiple leads, kind of more of a male lead, a little bit of a love interest.
Technology,
but you said it has nothing to do with language.
No.
Then, because I had an idea for a movie in my mind, but
you'll have to tell me in a second, or in 7 seconds.
Wait, are you giving me a timer?
Well, or should we do 30 seconds or a minute? I'll give you a minute, so you have 30 seconds.
Shoot.
Do.
I don't want to say.
I will say this is probably one of the harder ones that I've given you.
Okay.
But I think when you
not
hear
even
it,
seen it. Technology. What was the last hint?
Wealthy.
That's throwing me off.
And it might throw you off. So don't dwell too much on wealthy.
Okay. How much time do I have?
You're past the time.
Okay. I don't know. This is not a good guess.
Well, thankfully the punishment isn't too bad today.
This is not a good guess, but my guess is Signs.
It is not.
Dang it.
Because you said aliens. It doesn't have it.
Oh, wait, you said it didn't have aliens in it?
I think so. Didn't you say? I thought you said something in the sci-fi. I thought you said aliens.
Yeah, I asked if it had aliens.
And I said no.
Yes.
No, I said no. It's Ex Machina.
Oh.
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
Oh,
but
man.
I do know of it.
Oh, it's so good. And it's one of the earlier on A24 movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. It was like one of the pioneers for that. And it's, oh my gosh. It's
yeah,
so
I've never
good.
seen it. But
yeah. And I put wealthy because.
So I see what you're saying, that there's kind of two leads and that there's kind of a love interest.
But if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, I think I know kind of a little bit about it. I was thinking of The Arrival.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Because
that has aliens too.
Yeah, for some reason I kept thinking that you said aliens.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know.
And the guy
you've seen Arrival?
Yeah, so I really like it.
So good.
And the guy created what's his name? Alex Garland. He also created 28 Days Later or Weeks Later, one of the two, and he also created Annihilation, which I didn't really care for. And I thought there was one other movie.
Annihilation was interesting.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah, I'm never going to visit it again.
The ending was...
I'll never visit it
I felt like I was
again.
on drugs when I watched the ending of that movie.
Yeah. Well, I think Oscar Isaac was in that too, wasn't he? Towards the end, maybe?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just remember it was... who was the lead?
Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyways, you lose. So the punishment, and I mean, we can reveal this secret, is that it was really hard to find a punishment for this. And so one of the punishments, or one of the scenes in the movie, is when, Hulk and Thor have their little, headbutting moments. And one of the headbutting moments towards the very end, he is standing next to Thor and just punches him off screen. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be the punishment.
You're going to punch me?
I'm going to punch you off screen.
So we're going to recreate this. Okay, so Hulk is on that side, I think. So you're already on that side.
Yeah, so it works.
Okay.
But it's my weaker hand, so it's better for you.
Okay, that's good.
And you don't have to, actually jump off screen.
I will.
Okay, that's fine. But you still have to come in for the outro. All right. Here we go.
You'll have to bear with us for a second because you probably won't be able to hear us very well.
Yeah, well, we punch. All right, we'll just stand. And we'll just act like we... What they're looking at after they destroy something, right? Or help.
No, I think they fell through the roof of the building.
Oh, I can't remember.
I don't remember.
I'll just punch you.
Okay, but we stand right next to each other.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Oh no, I'm going off screen.
I missed it a little bit too. I nicked you.
You did not miss it.
Oh, sorry.
Actually.
Oh well.
I think I'm bruised.
I know sometimes there's a part in your shoulder, if you hit it just right,
it'll kill you?
No. Well, maybe. I don't know. We can find out.
Maybe.
But it's kind of like a nerve thing. But
well, as we wrap up this thrilling episode of CineBites, where we've indulged in the superhero spectacle of the Avengers, we hope that you've enjoyed this cinematic and culinary roller coaster as much as we have. Just as the Avengers assemble to save the day, so does our exploration of food and film to leave us with a taste of epic excitement. Thank you for joining us today. Stay tuned for more cinematic flavors in upcoming episodes. Make sure to follow us on YouTube and Instagram and hear our podcasts weekly on all major podcast platforms. Until next time, bon appetit and happy viewing.